Welcome back, everyone. We now begin the story of the Nutcracker Suite with the music of Peter Tchaikovsky. It was Christmas Eve at the Stahlbaum's house, and like children everywhere, Clara and Fritz were so excited that they could feel their toes tingle. The parents were decorating the Christmas tree before the big holiday party, and Clara and Fritz were not allowed into the great room until it was done. They jostled each other to sneak a peek at the glittering tree through the keyhole. At last, the guests arrived, and the doors were thrown open wide. "Let the party begin!" everyone cried as they joyfully filled the festive room. The children danced and played. Everyone was merry until the lights flickered and the room grew dark. A mysterious man with a young boy entered from the shadows. The menacing man was dressed all in black with a huge fluttering cape. The children scurried to hide behind their parents just as he paused and flung back his cape over his shoulder. There was nothing to fear. It was just Herr Drosselmeyer, Clara's beloved godfather. Clara flew into his arms for a hug and shyly met his young nephew. As the celebration continued, Herr Drosselmeyer beckoned Clara. He had a special gift for her because, you see, he was a toy inventor, and a visit from him was always full of surprises. He excitedly gave his present to her, a nutcracker. The nutcracker was dressed as a handsome soldier with a white beard. Clara was playing with the Nutcracker when a jealous Fritz snatched the Nutcracker from her. He swung it around the room and smashed it down onto the floor with a loud bang. Clara burst into tears. Her beloved Nutcracker was broken. Herr Drosselmeyer knew just how to fix him. He tied a scarf around the Nutcracker's head like a bandage and handed him back to Clara, who cradled him in her arms. The party was ending, and everyone joined in for one last grand dance. When the music ended, the guests bundled up and made their way out into the frosty night air. Clara waved goodbye to her dear godfather and his handsome nephew. It had been a long evening, and it was time for bed. Clara had been given a beautiful toy bed made just for her, a gift from Herr Drosselmeyer. She got ready for bed and then put the Nutcracker into the toy bed too. During the night, Clara awoke remembering that the Nutcracker was alone downstairs in his bed. She ran down to scoop him up. With the Nutcracker safely in her arms, she curled up on the sofa and drifted back to sleep in the soft glow of the Christmas tree. She hadn't been asleep long before Herr Drosselmeyer slipped in to mend the Nutcracker. He repaired him under the light of the moon and slipped away into the darkness. Soon, strange things began to happen. At the stroke of midnight, Clara was pulled from her sleep by the clock chimes. She rubbed her eyes in surprise as great big mice appeared from the shadows and began to scurry across the room. With a rumble and a shake, the Christmas tree began to grow before her eyes. The lights were flashing brightly as it rose higher and higher. Clara had never seen anything so big. Then Fritz's toy soldiers sprang to life. They marched into battle with the mice. The mice were led by the fierce and terrible Mouse King, who wore a shiny crown on his head. Then the Nutcracker came to life himself, growing until he was the size of Clara. His bed, now huge, spun around and around. The Nutcracker leapt out of bed to lead the battle against the mice. The Mouse King towered over the Nutcracker, taunting him, when a quick-thinking Clara threw her slipper, and it landed on the Mouse King's head, toppling him over and killing him instantly. The Nutcracker triumphantly claimed the Mouse King's crown in victory. At that very moment, the ancient spell that had been cast on the Nutcracker was broken. He transformed into a handsome prince who looked very much like Herr Drosselmeyer's beloved nephew. The prince gallantly placed the crown on top of Clara's head and led her by hand into the starry night. The prince took Clara on a fantastic journey. They boarded the beautiful bed that was given to her and sailed into the night, soon landing in an enchanted kingdom called the Land of Sweets. The Land of Sweets was a magical place filled with candy dripping and icing and magnificent colors as far as the eye could see. News of their arrival traveled fast, and Clara and the prince were greeted by the Sugar Plum Fairy who reigned over this land. She welcomed them to her kingdom, and with the wave of her sparkly wand, a host of delights from her kingdom appeared before them. The prince told the Sugar Plum Fairy of their fierce battle with the Mouse King. "Oh, you are very brave," said the Sugar Plum Fairy. She then summoned her entire kingdom to dance for them in honor of their victory. First, there was the delightful dance of spicy Spanish hot chocolate, heralded by the call of trumpets and snapping fingers. Next came the wondrous Russian dance, where thistles resembling men in fur hats danced the traditional Cossack dance. As much as they wanted to stay, it was time for Clara and the prince to leave the land of the sweets and return home. The regal Sugar Plum Fairy returned with her noble cavalier, and with another wave of her wand, the Sugar Plum Fairy summoned her whole kingdom for a joyous farewell celebration. She and the cavalier honored Clara and the prince with a final dance. After the Sugar Plum Fairy's beautiful tribute, Clara and the prince climbed back onto the bed and began the journey home. Clara and the prince turned to wave goodbye to their new friends as they rose higher and higher into the sky, away from their sweet celebration and into the starry night.